Hey everyone, this is Steve Krause coming at you from with a quick little YouTube video. But I thought, in the spirit of everyone's working on their videos, that this would be a good way to do it. I'm a little scruffy because I'm getting ready to go to the gym, but I get the idea. Just wanted to run through a couple of different items I have listed here. The first is I know that everyone's getting ready to hand in the visual rhetoric comic essay. That's due by midnight tonight, Friday. What is today? January or June? Not January. June 12th. Ugh, it's going crazy fast. But anyways, do hand it in yet tonight because I'm going to try to grade that before I leave town. More on that in just a second. Just a couple of tips about the comic essay. Make sure that you do include in the essay a link to the Facebook comic because at some point I'm going to want to take a look at the comic that you're putting together. The only way I can do that is if you include a link to the Facebook, or to not to Facebook, the Flickr comic site that you have, because that's the way I'm going to find is I'm going to follow that link. In the writing of your essay, if you haven't done so already, let me give you two basic tips. One is assume that your reader doesn't have the comic in front of them. In other words, don't make the reader go and refer to the Flickr thing for the essay to automatically make sense. Do you know what I mean? In other words, I'll look at the comic and other people, and you should give them a link to your readers, a link to look at the comic and stuff. But you have to write the essay in such a fashion so that it makes sense without the comic there. The other big tip I have is that make sure that you stay away from focusing on what the an interpretation of the meaning of your comic, and focus more instead on the connection to how your comic works as a comic in relationship to the assigned reading. In other words, if you've got like say you've got a comic that's, and I don't know if anybody has this, and if I'm not making fun of anybody if they do, but or maybe I am, I don't know. But if you've got a comic that's got three kitties, little kittens, three little different kittens, and then like different cute little kitten poses, and the common word is love. Kittens are love, or something like that. You can tell I'm a dog person, but anyways, if that's the nature of your comic, the essay, if you spend too much time in the essay, and by too much time I mean more than probably two paragraphs, talking about, well, my comic is about love, and kittens symbolize love, and playing with the little ball of yarn is like the way that love binds us with strings and things, and you don't want to do that. You want to focus instead on this is how the images work in relationship to some of the stuff we read in Picture and Text, for example. This is kind of like some of the stuff that Nancy Allen brought up in her essay that I thought was interesting with my comic. And most of you are probably going to rely quite a bit on McCloud because, after all, he's the one who wrote the book Understanding Comics, and that's what you're doing is you're trying to understand how comics work. So make sure that you take that focus on it as opposed to an interpretation on what your comic might mean, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's the visual rhetoric thing that's due tonight, and then hopefully we'll move on from there. And we're working on these movie projects. I've already gotten a couple of emails from people about ideas for what they want to do their movies on. That sounds great. That so far they all sound good. If you haven't touched base individually with your group members yet, you definitely need to do so as soon as you can. I know that people can use email, they can use the phone, they can meet in person, they can use the EMU online site because there's a space there for each group to communicate. Uh, Whatever you guys want to do to get together to make this work. Um, I divided up the groups based on some of the people I talked to who came to some of the optional face-to-face meetings this week, which I thought were great. I'm glad that people came and were able to meet each other and meet with me and just get kind of a sense of the real person behind the images and stuff like that. Like there's actually me here as far as that goes. um, the same goes for other people in the class. And but anyways, you should be actively engaging on getting your movie project together. Remember, the movie itself doesn't have to be that good. What's really important for you to think about as you work through the movie project together is what it's like as a process. How would you compare collaborating on a movie with working individually on an essay? How would you compare editing a movie versus editing an essay? How would you compare the composing process? How would you consider the use of technology and so forth? I think people have seemed pretty comfortable with making these connections in these essays in the past, so I'm pretty sure that people would be good on that this time around too. One last thing, I'm going to a conference this next week in California, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to clear my plate for in terms of grading and stuff like that, so I don't have to worry about that while I'm on this trip. But what that means is I'll be available on Monday. In fact, I already have a couple of appointments with people on Monday, but I won't be available Tuesday until the next Monday. I'll be following stuff on the class, of course. I'll be checking my email as much as I can, and I'll be posting to EMU Online and all that other kind of business. But if you need to talk with me in person, it's going to be pretty tough to do from Tuesday to Sunday of next week. I think that's it for now. Hopefully this all makes sense. Hopefully people wrap up their essays and get started in those movies. And the end is near. We only have until June 24th, and then we're all done. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not a train. I'll see everybody later.